Whenever I talk about winter camping and stoves, the MSR Reactor system comes up. So I reached out to MSR and they sent me one, so just so that everyone knows we're on the same page. I didn't pay for this, but you know, I've taken it out on a trip already this year, and I do have experience with the MSR wind burner, which is a similar system. The Reactor is the first generation, and it's kind of their premium top of the line stove. So I wanted to do a few things today. I had actually packed and was ready to go on a trip, but I woke up and my son was throwing up, so that got canned. So I'm just going to show you guys a few things. Some of this is the first time that I'll do it, and like I said, I have used it on one trip in the snow before, and it's interesting. So I want to show that to you. So just so that we all know what we're talking about right now, it says that it's minus 17 out. I'm minus 27 with the wind chill. I don't think it really is. I have another thermometer here, just a little one of these. It's pretty susceptible to being touched. It says minus 11 Celsius. So it's cold enough out. What I'm gonna do is I have some cans. They're a little bit more than half full. So this one has total weight 315, total weight 307. They're chilled. They've been out for over 2 hours. And I'm gonna set this up and see if how it works. Some boil times. Nothing super precise, but just for fun to see, because I found it pretty interesting first time I used it. So this system is a radiant heat burner. It's very low, and it's quite different in build from the wind burner. The pot itself has the built-in kind of windscreen. It just sits on there. It doesn't snap on or anything. I do like that it has a physical handle versus the wind burners, which are kind of a jet boil style of grab loop. Not my favorite. I think this is good, especially when you have gloves and mitts and stuff on like that. Has a plastic lid. So there's a few things about this. Oh, and another thing is I have a piece of foam. So the stove is going to be on the piece of foam. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So this can, just to warn you, this one was refilled from another can. This is completely, you know, I burned some of the fuel from it, but I didn't refill it. So that, whether that affects something or not, I don't know. So one of the things that I do like about the MSR, the Reactor system, is that it's quite low and close to the stove, so much less tippy than the wind burner. And I did have an interesting experience with it the first time I used it out in the cold, in that it literally shot liquid fuel out, which was pretty unusual, and it wasn't that cold out. So what I want to do is just see how much fuel it takes to get you know, a liter, let's call it a liter to boil, or maybe a bit more. Yeah, we'll say a liter. How much fuel, how long, stuff like that. And if it works just as is, because again, this is a cold can. So I'll get that going. You know, we got snow here, so may as well. And let's see how she goes. So that's the system right there. You're supposed to light it at, that's fun. Even the lighter doesn't work. Must be pretty, oh, it's dead. Not much going on here with either. Okay, so that lit. No problem. 11:54 on the dot. The thing about the wind burner is that it's very quiet. So quiet. We're already in kind of radiant. You can see the the radiant mode when the burner glows red. But it's a trickle of fuel, and I'm on fully open. Pretty neat though that a normal stove, I don't think you would be getting really any useful heat. It's so quiet. So just while that's going, the wind burner is quite a different unit. It's essentially, I think, a kind of repurposed burner. So the actual pot and all that is very comparable. But like I said, this one has kind of the cozy and a fabric handle, which I find pretty annoying. The burner itself is essentially a normal upright canister burner that goes into the radiant compartment. I have a video where I was trying to do something and I take one of these apart, so that could be worthwhile checking. But we've already got, this is impressive. Let's see. You know, that's been, I don't know how long, but we're already getting liquid. So a lot of people, like I said, people are always asking about, you know, the tricks and stuff to use these liquid fuel stove or canister stoves in the winter. I tend to use liquid fuel for more demanding trips, but there is a certain appeal to these. And I think it's just because, first of all, the canister stoves, it's so easy to get cans. They're clean. You don't really have to worry about spilling fuel and all kinds of problems that go along with that. There's a few drawbacks though. One is the performance once it gets cold out. That's obvious to me. The other is that they're high and they're tippy. And this one is really quite stable because it's low, it's wide. You use it's really designed to be used with the 200 gram cans, not the 100 gram cans. So it gives you a more stable base. It's quite wide. And it sips fuel, super quiet. It has that built-in windscreen, so you're not fussing with the aluminum windscreen and stuff like that. You know, when you're out for days on end, that has its own kind of annoying side to things. It's just something else. So this is just one kit, and like I said, it sips fuel, so I think it's a bit less affected by the can being really cold. I do have it on a piece of foam, and I think that helps a lot. I have something else that I would like to try, but a little hack. But it's working, and it's, you know, it says minus 13 on my thermometer now. So minus 13 is below the boiling point of the isobutane, and that's an important thing to know. So right now, is it just burning propane, maybe. And that's something you got to watch out for. Just because you can get something to work when the can is relatively full and has quite a bit of propane in it, I think you've got to be careful about that, because eventually you're going to run out of propane, and then you're just left with isobutane, and isobutane, it just can't vaporize at a certain temperature. So I'd be curious, you know, if this system, does it provide enough sort of heat feedback because it's relatively close to the pot? I'm not sure. Got some dirt in there. So we're at the 1 liter line, and it's been 6 minutes. It's definitely not howling. It's barely even red. So the stove isn't working as well as it should. That's in my mind, without a doubt. This burner should be absolutely bright red. So it's not performing at its max. I hear people say things like, oh, I used the reactor down -15 and it's perfect. It's not right now. And the can has a bunch of propane in it. So to me, that's pretty telling that we just don't have that full, red glow that you'd be expecting. It's just not optimal. There's no question there that it's not running at full speed. So a few other things that people often say. One, and these, they work, is to warm up the can, keep it on your body, keep it in your sleeping bag. My question about that is, I've done a fair amount of winter trips and all that, is when you're in camp, it's kind of okay, or in the morning, you can bring a can into your sleeping bag in the morning, but it's something else you got to be thinking about. It's another chore. The other part is when you get into camp at night, and typically what I do is I get into camp, I set up the area where I'm going to put my tent out, and then right away I start boiling water. Now, you gotta fish out your canister, and get it warmed up if you're going to be in the situation, if it drops below -10. And that's just another part of the story. So tons of sort of advantages or really benefits to this kind of system over a regular upright canister stove in my mind, but a lot of the same drawbacks. And then it comes to, okay, what happens when you want to get fuel, when you want to get going fast and reliably in any weather? This to me is at the edge of working. It's been almost 10 minutes. We're getting heat transfer. It's sort of melted. To me, it's pretty much in the range of a fail. So I don't really think it's worth fussing around much more and seeing how long this is going to take, because we're really not performing how the stove is supposed to work. So I'm going to stop this, do one little change. I'm going to ditch this. So we're just at, I've melted all of the water, I've melted all the snow, but it's when this stove is performing, it's fast. So I'm going to switch things up a little bit. So this can is obviously cold. It's gotten ice all over it. So it's freezing. So I've got the other can. I'm going to start over. I want to do something a little bit different. We'll see how much fuel we got there. So that was 10 minutes approximately to get the water melted. Let's rewind, do something a little bit different. Again, I hate finding this stuff out when I'm out in the field, and I much rather learn about it at home and see what the real performance is. I'm not really very interested in these super fast boil times. That doesn't how fast something isn't the main interest. It's how much fuel, how reliable. If it takes 5 minutes or if it takes 7 minutes, it doesn't change your life at all. So I'm going to try something a little bit different. What I have here is I have a little windscreen that I've made kind of into an oval shape, so that can get the stove in there. And the other part to it is a little top, which is going to go underneath, and a little tea candle, going back to the weird stuff. So we'll see if we can do something interesting here. So we got our candle going. Tuck that around. Okay, so we got our little thing here. All right, 209. Sitting at -14 right now, pretty constant. All right, so we're actually melting. It's not red at all. That thing should be screaming hot. This is the candle. It's definitely keeping this kind of warm. I don't know if it's enough to really transfer much heat to the can. It's got to be transferring some, but the can's also cooling because of the gas vaporizing. So to me, all of these things are just, what's more annoying to you? Some people find liquid fuel just really annoying, and they'd rather deal with all of the little, oh, there we go. We're nice now. We got nice red glow, which is what we want. So, you know, if you're relying on this and you got a candle or a finger, you know, hand warmers or whatever, the hand warmer would work too. You just put that underneath the can. Yeah, it's just, that's the question. Is it worth it? I don't know. You know, if it was really windy or cold or whatever, and you're fighting to get a candle going, that could be pretty annoying too. And I've been in such cold conditions with my liquid fuel stoves, and once you get used to it, it's just not a problem. Like I said, I totally get that there's a convenience that people like. And we're good in red though. Just got a good glow to it, which is what we want. And candles. So I got water on the little you look down here, there's some water on there. So it's just a little windscreen that I've kind of got shaped as an oval and a little top to it, and then there's a tea candle in there. Don't think you can see the flame, but it's glowing. And this stove it's so quiet. That's something else that kind of bothers me, is that when I'm lighting it, I can't 100% tell if it's lit, whereas the wind burner has this little wire that goes across, and even when the stove isn't hot, that wire gets red hot, so it tells you if it's running. But it puts the pot quite a bit higher off the can, makes it pretty unstable. Works for the small container. This is the 1.7 liter container or system, and I think that's pretty much optimal for one person winter camping. You can melt 1.5 liters and then boil 1 liter. If you boil these when they're too full, there's so much heat transfer in certain conditions that it just goes crazy. I tried cooking something on my wind burner this fall with some food in it. It just boiled over like crazy. So we're at coming on 8 minutes. So yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about what you're going to bring, those are, in my mind, the big questions are, is it going to be reliable? That's the number one issue. Are you going to be able to use it right away whenever you're ready to? And there's pros and cons to every system out there. So this is definitely working. It's got a little bit of warmth there, probably enough just to counteract some of the heat loss, but it's nowhere near the full output that you'd be expecting from this system. That's for sure. So I'll let it go, see if we can get, we're right at 1 liter there. I'd say fully melted. To get it boiled, that's going to be a different story. Boil for 1 liter on this stove at full output is probably something like 5 minutes. The transfer is so direct, not affected by wind at all. And I'm just curious if it's how much fuel we'll use. So the last time it really died down at around 10 minutes. The maybe had burned all of the propane in the can. It's hard to say. Left with isobutane. So with liquid fuel, whether it's the Dragonfly or the Whisperlight, it takes about 20 minutes at -20 to go from snow to 2 liters of boiled water, and uses about 2 ounces of fuel, give or take. So this will be 1 liter, and it's not going to be a ton faster because we're at 11 minutes now. So 15 minutes we're boiling. Next to it, it was in that windscreen, and yeah, I feel like it worked just enough. You can still see some frost down there, but it must have been just enough to get that can, or keep the can warm enough. So I'm going to check how much fuel we burned. All right, so the can was 315 when it started, and now it's at 290, maybe 287. So we're talking 25 grams, maybe 28, so just under an ounce for 1 liter of fuel, 1 liter of water boiled from snow. Which, if I extrapolate that out, that would be 2 ounces for 2 liters, which is right on what you get from a liquid fuel stove. Fussing around with little things like this, it's just still tricky for me to say which is better, one or the other. Again, I think it comes down to you. What is more important to you? What are you willing to deal with? I think there's overnight quick trips. Things like this can be an option. Long term, you start getting to liquid fuel. It just, in my mind, the advantages, especially as you get into longer, more and more days, the weight of carrying cans. One of these cans weighs 5 ounces. Just the metal can. These are steel cans, and you get 8 ounces out of that. Whereas my 1 liter bottle, I think, weighs 7 ounces, and you're getting 4 times as much fuel. So your system tends to be heavier with liquid fuel, but your fuel carrying system or fuel storage is lighter. Up to you.